To other stories right now. Donald Trump's being blamed by many for a recent spike in hate crimes in America in the wake of the U.S. presidential result. But it's transpired that some of those incidents weren't quite what they first seemed. RT's Caleb Maupin takes a closer look.
Do you remember the Trump effect that Hillary Clinton talked about during the election?
In fact, teachers and parents are calling it the Trump effect. Bullying is up. A lot of people are feeling uneasy. We have seen him insult women.
Well, a lot of U.S. media ran with it, highlighting various hate crimes and linking them to the election results. Make America white again, swastikas, death threats, intimidation, threats against immigrants, deportation letters, you name it.
This is being investigated as a hate crime. This is a direct assault on people's right to freely worship.
This matter is being investigated as a hate crime.
A historically black church in Mississippi was lit on fire with the words "Vote Trump" spray painted on it. That's an unwanted flashback to the Ku Klux Klan. But it turns out the arsonist was an African-American man who attended the church. A student in Michigan said that a man threatened to light her on fire if she did not remove her hijab.
Some Muslim organizations are reporting that there have been more threats against, more hate crimes against Muslims now.
So he took out his pocket knife and set it next to me. I was waiting to be stabbed just for the fact that I was wearing my hot scarf.
You're seeing these incidents now that are clearly happening. This is not fiction or fantasy. This is not being made up.
But the police determined that the whole incident never occurred. And another woman claimed she was beaten up by 3 Trump supporters.
They came closer and I heard distinctly them saying Donald Trump.
The young woman says she was then verbally attacked by 3 drunk white men on the train.
Well, she was lying too, and now she's been arrested for fabricating the story. Now, with Trump edging closer to the White House and after his election, a wave of hate crime hoaxes crashed across the U.S. Offensive writing, misleading crimes, graffiti, all kinds of things all too often bought into by American media.
There has been a direct attempt to link Trump to hate crimes. That was the whole point, to try and discredit Trump and to discredit anyone that wanted to vote for him. It's kind of like a way to subvert the election and try to shape the election before it happens. Since they were not successful this time.
Hate crimes are usually deemed unacceptable by society, especially in America. Yet, it's a constant problem. But when the media highlights certain cases and tries to link them to a certain candidate without doing much background research or investigation, it seems like traditionally trustworthy news sources fall into the fake news trap. Caleb Maupin, RT, Washington, D.C.
Now, NSA whistleblower Edward Snowden has been in contact with Russian intelligence agencies since his arrival in Moscow and shared information obtained while on duty with them. And that's according to a new, highly critical report by the U.S. Congress. Snowden made public top-secret NSA files back in 2013 and was given asylum in Russia later that year. Alexei Rashevsky has more.
Well, it is a damning report by all accounts, among many other things, basically just falling short of calling Snowden, an enemy of the state. It says, among other things, that Snowden still continues its contacts with the Russians, and I quote, "Since his arrival in Moscow, he has had and continues to have contact with Russian intelligence services." This is something that the former NSA contractor turned whistleblower denied on multiple occasions. Even last week in an interview, again said that he's not been in contact with any intelligence services. This report comes amid the time when many human rights activists and many organizations are calling for President Obama to pardon Edward Snowden. But considering what we've been hearing, both from this report and from the White House, it seems that there's no chance of that. Let's take a listen.
Edward Snowden is not a whistleblower. There actually is a specific process that is well established and well protected that allows whistleblowers to raise concerns that they have, particularly when it relates to confidential or classified information, to do so in a way that protects the national security secrets of the United States. That is not what Mr. Snowden did.
Snowden himself reacted with indignation following the publication of this report. First, his lawyer called it a nonsense, and then the man himself went on a rather extensive rant on Twitter, and I believe we can have a look at that.
Unsurprising that HPSCI's report is rifled with obvious falsehoods. The only surprise is how accidentally exonerating it is. After 3 years of investigation and millions of dollars, They can present no evidence of harmful intent, foreign influence or harm. Wow.
Well, Snowden also went on to describe particular evidence, as has been described by the report, and he debunked every single point there. He also made a really good point in one of the tweets that there has been no word, no mention in this report of what he actually achieved. Not only this was a piece of journalism which won the Pulitzer Prize, but also led to a lot of reforms.
Earlier, we spoke to former CIA analyst Ray McGovern about the protection afforded to those who blow the whistle on U.S. intelligence agencies.
It is just short of astonishing that the president and others would claim that there is whistleblower protection for people working in the intelligence community. That's just a lie. There is no such protection. And there are people that prove this in practice, and that is many of the NSA people who revealed gross distortions and gross violations of the Fourth Amendment and other laws. They were pursued. One person, for example, Thomas Drake, was pursued for 4 years, brought to trial, partially on falsified documents. Luckily, we had the original documents. The thing that intelligence officers in managerial positions never want to do, never, is to give anybody the idea that they can leak sensitive information and suffer no consequences.
Well, I'll be back with more news in just a minute. Do stay with us.